Guys, it's me. So, I am doing the tribute speech on my grandmother. Her name is Nancy Russell. She was born to her two parents, Thelma and Arthur, and had a brother and a sister, both of whom which gave her one niece and one nephew. My grandmother had 5 children: Valerie, Rich, Jill, Brett, and Brandon. And out of all of those, they had 10 grandkids. So I am one of those, obviously. I have 2 older sisters, both of which gave her only great grandchildren. One is named Kinsley, and the other one is named Alex. I chose my grandmother as my tribute because as a child, I grew up at her house a lot. I grew up in Arizona originally, and I spent a lot of time with her. I spent time in her living room a lot with her, where she had all of her kids' Teletubbies, old bowling trophies, old trading cards, stuff like that. And everyone always made fun of my grandma, even to the day that she passed away, about keeping all of this silly stuff, even my mother's wedding dress from the 90s. And I almost always laughed too. Until after she passed away, and I actually thought about what they meant to her and what her family meant to her. See, my grandma went to college. My grandma did a lot of things. She rode horses. She was Miss Arizona Rodeo, stuff like that. And out of all of her accomplishments and degrees, her most prized possession was her family. Her family was everything to her. I know me personally, I called my grandmother every day until last year when she got sicker. And after that, I called her at least twice a week when she could talk. Every time I talked to her after telling her everything about me, she kept me in the loop with all of my cousins and my aunts and uncles and other people I didn't even know, and you could never get off the phone with her if it wasn't at least a 45-minute phone call. And some of our family members, including me sometimes, didn't really like that, or we'd put her on mute and do other things, which now looking back, I kind of wish I hadn't. But at the same time, I still enjoyed every second of my life that I got to spend with her. I got my love of family from her. I one day want to have a big family of my own. I also appreciate phone calls way more than I thought I would ever. Hearing someone's voice is probably the best way to communicate with them, especially if they live far away, such as her when she lived in Arizona. I also got my love of reading from my grandmother. My grandma from probably like 2000, up until the day that she passed away. Every day that she could, she went to the library, and when she was at the library, she was reading a book, watching the news, anything that she could, and she always brought me new books. She'd write me a book, she'd bring it home, and after I moved, she would call me after she got out of the library and tell me what books that she had gotten. She was so excited. I actually am obsessed with Stephen King, probably because of my grandmother. She bought me every book that he had ever written, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I have a really great book collection because of her. So that's a great thing. One of my grandmother's children did pass away. He passed away when he was 21 years old, which it's actually now been 16 years since that happened. And I remember how devastated my whole family was, including my grandfather. But my grandma pushed on, and she still carried her same smile every day and showed everyone the same love that she always had. And now that she's gone, which she just passed away on Christmas this year, I want to be able to have that same mindset for myself. I want to be able to push through things, not because I have to and not to get over them, but because life is more valuable than sitting and holding on to something. Because the last thing that my grandmother would have wanted was for everyone to be upset and be sad. She was proud for us to live our lives, and every time I got an A on an assignment, or even I failed a test, or when I got in a car accident, she was still proud of me for doing the best that I could. And I wouldn't be in college if I didn't have her sitting there encouraging me. I would not be the person that I am today, and I would not be half the person that I want to be when I grow up because of my grandmother. My grandmother did have breast cancer for about 5 years, and she got over it about 3 times. So she was a fighter. I also get that from her. And then she passed away from lung cancer, but none of us ever actually thought that it would happen. She was sick for about 10 years, so half of my life, and there was never a moment where we thought, oh, this trip's going to be the last to the hospital. And I think that's why it threw off a lot of us when she passed. But as you can see, I am standing here strong and happy because I know that that's what she would want me to be doing. She was a very heartfelt person and never in a day would regret anything that she did with her life. As a mother and as a grandmother, she could not have been any more perfect than she was. And I hope to be the woman that she is one day and that she was. The purpose of this speech was to tell you about her life and how she's changed my life. And honestly, I didn't plan on saying a lot of the stuff that I did. I wanted you guys to be able to hear from my heart exactly who I am because of her. And I hope that you have. I hope that you all have someone in your life who have not only given you things that you hadn't realized, like the reason why I love reading is because of her. Some people don't realize until they're gone or until they don't have the opportunity to thank them anymore. So I just encourage you all, think about who you have with you and what they've done for you, because I know that my grandmother is the best thing that has ever been in my life, and she always will be, and I hold all of her memories dearly. Thank you guys for listening.